A power outage for the power play as the Canucks fall 3-2 to the Sharks in San Jose. We're breaking it down now on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealers studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Jeff Pettersson along with Harman Dial of The Athletic and Canucks Convo as we come to you on this Friday matinee, an early start for the Canucks and the Sharks and a whole bunch of teams around the National Hockey League on Black Friday. More like Black and White Friday, with the officials playing a huge role in this hockey game. Nobody pays to see the guys in stripes, but they felt like they were the stars of this show. Certainly a talking point, as is the Canucks power play, which has been red hot. It's been hard to criticize the Canucks power play of late, Harm, but boy, you get that many opportunities, especially against a team like San Jose, you got to find a way.
Absolutely, and it's frustrating because at 5-on-5, the Canucks were controlling play well. I thought they spent a lot of their shifts in the offensive zone. They outshot San Jose at 5-on-5. They outchanced them. They had about a 2/3 share control of expected goals. But then the officials are calling a ton of penalties on both sides, and it means your 5-on-5 performance isn't going to matter as much compared to whether you can lock things down and execute on the special teams. And it's not just the power play, but also the penalty kill. Again, surrendering lots of chances, giving up multiple goals, that set them behind the 8-ball. And then the power play, it felt as if it got progressively worse throughout the game. I think through the first 2 or 3 opportunities, the man advantage actually created chances in bunches. They looked dangerous. They spent a lot of time set up in their formation, weren't able to convert early on with their first 2 or 3 opportunities. And then as we got to the third period power plays, it really seemed as if they lost some of the danger element that they actually kind of had in some of their earlier power play opportunities.
If you want to know, officially, they've got the Canucks at 0 for 9 with the man advantage. We'll see if they reconcile all of that, all kinds of penalties there. In the final 2 seconds of the hockey game, it felt like everybody was getting sent off the scrum. Elias Pettersson was the target, and it was both Barclay Goodrow and Ty Dellandrea. It was good to see Kiefer Sherwood, Brock Boeser step in there and stick up for a teammate. That's been a question about this hockey club at times in the past. Garrett Rank was one of the officials. The other, we should get their names out there. We don't talk about the officials a lot. Riley Bryce, one of the youngest officials in the National Hockey League, a former American Hockey League player not that long ago. But it seemed like Garrett Rank was the guy that he was the senior official, and he seemed to be drawing the ire of Quinn Hughes and others. And again, I think you have to give Quinn Hughes some latitude. He's a captain. He's a superstar in this league, and if he's got some choice words for an official at some point as they skate up ice, he thinks he was, on the wrong end of a missed call. You're an official, you got to have a thicker skin than that. And I just think, again, people aren't there to see the guys in stripes making call after call after call, and that seemed to sort of set the tone for this game. That happened in the second period. Put the Canucks down, and then Marcus Pettersson takes a penalty. Now all of a sudden they're down 2 men. They couldn't kill it off, and that was one of the turning points in this hockey game. Sharks officially go 2 for 5, 2 for 6 with the man advantage. San Jose scored a pair of power play goals. Canucks didn't get any. So if you're just trying to break it right down, that is ultimately the difference in this hockey game. But Quinn Hughes plays almost 10 minutes on the power play. Elias Pettersson's not far behind. So first half of back-to-backs, and these guys both log a ton of minutes, as they so often do. Connor Garland at 24-28 in this hockey game. We saw him play a bunch the other night in Anaheim as well, and he's part of that top power play unit too. So, the Canucks difference makers couldn't be the difference makers in this hockey game, unfortunately for them. And after the win in Anaheim the other night, now 1-1 on this 4-game road trip. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. We want to hear from you, and already we have a bunch of Super Chats, so we're going to get to those momentarily, so keep them coming. We love the Super Chats, and so does the BC Mental Health Foundation. All Super Chats support our charity partner again this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Let's get to a couple of super chats right off the top here, and then we'll get down into some more analysis of this hockey game. Justice, a regular contributor, says, I missed the first half due to the early start. I was at work. From what I saw, game was meh. Quinn seemed detached and didn't care. Should he be worried? A lot of people I saw, people were cutting the highlight and posting it to social at the end of the second period with the Canucks on the power play, and the Sharks cleared the puck past Quinn, and he just kind of shrugged his shoulders. There was like 2 seconds left on the clock. I don't think it's a whole lot. I mean, everybody's reading into his body language at every turn this season. He'd be frustrated. 10 minutes of power play time and they don't score. It's understandable if he's frustrated in a game like this one, but I don't know that there was anything in this game that stands out at me as sort of red flags around Quinn Hughes that advances the conversation about the future of the captain here in Vancouver.
Yeah, there was no chance to go back, retrieve that puck, and make an entry in time to actually manufacture anything offensively. So, of course, with a couple seconds left, I don't blame him for not going back on that puck. It's useless. Save your legs. You're going to play 30 minutes in this game, plus you're going to play against LA the other night. I'd say, if anything, it was his body language really early in October that was more concerning to me. I think about the first time they played Nashville, where in situations where the game and the period, time of play, things were still there to seize, there were a lot more of those rolling your eyes kind of moments from Quinn. Yeah, did he look frustrated at times? Absolutely. But his body language in the San Jose game didn't concern me. And most importantly, his actual on-ice effort never wavered. Yeah. For one moment. You saw him still spinning, creating tons offensively. And at 5-on-5, you especially noticed it, because those are the situations where you're able to dictate a little bit more as a defenseman. I think on the power play, a lot of times, I've always felt that it's your flank forwards, and it's really on the forwards to manufacture. And yeah, having a good power play quarterback at the point helps. But really, when you're on the man advantage, you're trying to set up chances from the inside. You're trying to work it into the middle, into the low slot area. So a defenseman's job is more to distribute rather than to single-handedly create. And I thought at 5-on-5, he was still doing all his spin moves. It was interesting. I felt that a lot of times when he would use a change of direction to create time and space for himself, that there wasn't an immediate lane for him to attack, whether individually as a shooter to drive into the high slot area, or even as a passer. A lot of times Quinn is able to buy time and space, and then there is a teammate available and open for, let's say, a cross-seam pass. I actually thought the Sharks, overall, they didn't defend well in that game at all. They were very sloppy with turnovers and whatnot, but when it came to their in-zone defense at 5-on-5, when Quinn Hughes was on the ice, I thought they did a pretty good job of limiting the damage despite Quinn's best efforts.
Yeah, and again, like a snapshot in time with 2 seconds left in the second. There are issues around this hockey club, and we'll get to some of them. What happened there at the end of the second, to me, not a huge issue. I thought Quinn was invested. 4 shots on 11 attempts in this hockey game. Plays 28 minutes and 19 seconds in all situations. But another super chat, 7-7, says he was looking like Miller before he was traded last year. Tuned out and given up on plays. Again, I mean, I know other people saw it there. I didn't read it the same way. Another super chat coming from Justice, his second of the program. And again, we thank him. He says, go charity. Petey was looking like Petey of old, trying to drive play. That's what we need from him. Also, I say trade Kane. We are done. And look, it's taken us the first 10 minutes of the program here, really before the name Elias Pettersson even comes up. That's probably, if it wasn't for the officiating, I think we would have been spending more time talking about that looked like Petey of old. The play that he makes on his goal to knock the puck out of midair, the spin move, and then to outweight Askarov. Gets his 8th of the year at 4:04 of the second period. And the goal was great, and the hand-eye and just the creativity and all that kind of stuff. I think my favorite play, though, was when they were 2 men short. The high flip to cause chaos was incredible, and he nearly scored his second of the game. So, no, there were a lot of good things happening from Elias Pettersson, and a lot of nights we said we need more. Gets a goal, was involved in this hockey game, ends up with 5 shots on goal. I thought he dug in in this one this afternoon.
100%. The hand-eye coordination on the goal plus the patience that outweighed Askarov is peak Elias Pettersson at his best. And then, as you said, the alley-oop to himself, just the creativity, the confidence, the decisiveness, playing off his instincts to really think outside the box. He's not attempting that play. Forget attempting that play. I don't know if he's even thinking of that play last year, but when you build confidence as a player, you're relying on your instincts. It feels like, and I've had conversations with players before on this, it's as if the game slows down for you and you're able to have just that extra time in your own brain to process and look for plays. And really, that's a huge part of what made Pettersson an elite player in the past, is his brain being ahead of everybody else on the ice in terms of processing plays. Because, yeah, when he was putting up 100 points, he played quick, had the nasty shot. He had those physical attributes as well. But really, his standout trait was that the processing speed of his brain, the IQ, and just seeing plays that other players on the ice aren't able to foresee. So love that one from him. And even going back to the Anaheim game, the 4-on-4 shift where Quinn bumped it back for Petey and he had him flying through the neutral zone. And earlier in that game, there's a power play opportunity too, where on an entry, he's beating Ducks players with his pace to create rush opportunities. That's the last part of his game that I've been looking for, because earlier in the year, even when he was putting up points, I was still looking for, okay, I love a lot of the things he's doing offensively right now, but I want to see him still fly through the neutral zone and put defenders on their heels a little bit. And I thought that part of his game has been slowly rounding into form, starting with that Anaheim performance. So definitely liking a lot of what I'm seeing from Elias Pettersson lately.
When he was 2 men down, I thought at first in real time, like, oh, the high flip, that's going to kill off an extra couple of seconds on the clock. Why not? But that wasn't the intent at all. It was to, cause chaos, and the Sharks are looking around. They don't know where that puck's coming down, and he just charged through. And I'm with you. Like, the fact that he's even thinking that, it's 2 steps ahead of anybody else on the ice in that moment. So a little thing perhaps, but a little different, a little wrinkle. I like it. I want to see more of that from Elias Pettersson. I also want to see, and I know he said he had 5 shots and 7 attempts, but Harm, they've officially updated. It's 8 power plays now. Not that that makes it a whole lot better. 0 for 8 instead of 0 for 9. The one-timer. Where's the one-timer? He scored on it earlier this season, and it just feels like that's the last we've seen of the one-timer. You have 8 power play opportunities. You can't squeeze in a one-timer attempt somewhere? Like, why wouldn't Quinn put it in his wheelhouse?
And I think that's the key, is it's not on Petey. It's, to me, on Quinn a lot of times. Petey on the right half wall, he's bumping it back to Quinn. Quinn's either looking to move it to Boeser on the left half wall, or he's poking in, prodding to find a shooting lane for himself to get something through and create some chaos, find maybe a shot pass or a deflection. But I would have liked to see Quinn mix it up a little bit. And there were situations during one of the third period power plays they had where Petey had started sort of lifting his stick almost as if he was loading up for a potential one-timer, trying to show Quinn that, hey, I'm here as an option. Not demanding the puck, not asking for it, but just, hey, I'm an option for the one-timer here. And you saw Quinn try and use his edges to create space for himself. His own shot deflected out of play. That's the exact kind of spot where I'd like to see Quinn tee it up for Petey, especially when he's playing so confidently right now. He's feeling it offensively right now. Why not let him unload on the power play? Because even generally speaking, if you try and break down why they went 0 for 8 on the power play, I want to say it was either the 5th or the 6th opportunity where entries finally became an issue, where Connor Garland had a turnover and then Evander Kane had one, which led to a penalty. But outside of that, entries weren't an issue. It wasn't a problem to get set up. Most times, if you are ever going to go 0 for 8 or 0 for 7 on the power play during a game, you're going to point to, or entries or an issue. We couldn't even get set up. We were spending half our power plays just going back for pucks in our own zone. That wasn't the case for the Canucks. Tonight, they're actually winning a lot of their draws and getting set up. And it was their in-zone attack that was lacking. And I mean, not diversifying your looks and sending PD up for one-timers, I think is part of it. Just generally getting shots through. If you zoom in on 5-on-4 specifically, so not counting the 5-on-3, 15 shot attempts at 5-on-4, only 6 of them made it through to the net. And I think part of that is you've got to have an element of unpredictability to open up lanes and not sort of be a one-trick pony. And just generally speaking, I thought outside of the situations where Pettersson was able to find the cross-seam lane to Boeser, which seemed to work and was creating opportunities, outside of that, they didn't have a whole lot going. They weren't able to get the bumper involved a lot. They weren't able to create really any down-low passing plays. It felt like on a lot of occasions they were relying on Quinn at the top to try and get shots through, which wasn't really working. The PD to Boeser seam, which was working, and then outside of that, there just wasn't a whole lot that they were able to execute.
You know, it's funny. I mean, Jake DeBrusk had so much success in and around the blue paint this year. Most of his goals come on the power play. He's credited with 5 shots. Outside of Garland finding him on the short side for a quick bang-bang play in the third period, I don't remember much of Jake DeBrusk's afternoon. And again, when they have 8 power plays, you'd think he would be more of a factor. But I think that goes to what you said, that a lot of it was Quinn up at the top, and pucks just weren't finding their way to the parts of the ice that they had to ultimately. And so missed opportunity. The San Jose Sharks pick up their 12th win of the year. They didn't win their 12th game last year until January the 2nd. So here they are on Black Friday. They're 6 weeks ahead of schedule. They've been pretty good at home. It's their 8th win of the year on home ice. They got embarrassed in Colorado the other night. They're not the only team that's been schooled by the Avs, so you knew that they wanted to tighten it up and bounce back, and they do. And for the Vancouver Canucks, after the win in Anaheim, we've seen so much of this win one, lose one all season long. They're now 10-13-2, so stuck on 22 points at the 25 game mark. Let's get to the 3 stars of this hockey game. They're brought to you by Greta Bar. Got some internal emails talking about our next Canucks Army watch party. Not ready to give you the details just yet. We're trying to hammer out a few things on our side, but looking forward to getting people down to Greta again for another Canucks Army watch party. Lots of fun, lots of an opportunity to meet so many Canucks Army, Canuck Convo, Rink Wide viewers and listeners, and so we can't wait to share all of that info with you. And of course, Greta, a great place to watch all the games with all the big screen TVs and the drink specials, game day specials with the street food as well, and then of course the arcade games too. So Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. I always have a laugh. In San Jose, I don't think that the visiting team ever gets one of the stars. Like, even in a 1-goal hockey game, I'd have to go back and look at that 10-1 Canucks win from a couple of years ago. I would hope that a few Canucks got stars that night, but it almost is always a clean sweep, selected by the Sharks media, and that's fine, whatever, in-house, in the building. It was nice to see a fairly full house there, 17,435, the announced attendance, so they're starting to bring people back, and you can understand why one of the stars, or a couple of the stars in this game, worth the price of admission. But the 3 stars in the building: Yaroslav Askarov, the goaltender, was the first star. William Eklund was star number 2, and Adam Gaudette, the former Canuck who gets the game winner. No love for Macklin Celebrini. Tough crowd there. But I think
they got it wrong twice. Well, but to have 3 Sharks and then to not have Macklin Celebrini as one of 3 stars.
Don't you think that speaks to the fact that he puts on a show every night? This is like a routine, 2-assist night for Celebrini. Big deal. No. On our 3 stars here on Rink Wide, saw it a little bit differently. Askarov was busy, all the power play shots. Canucks had 11 on the power play and ended up out shooting San Jose 34-24. So he was the first star, got the hook the other night against the Avs, but he bounced back in a big way. There's the pride of North Vancouver. Macklin Celebrini, 2 assists. He gets the second assist on the 1-1 power play goal by Will Smith, and then he gets the primary helper putting in the wheel. We're talking about one-timers. Sharks got a one-timer goal off the flank there. Eklund was able to sneak it past Nikita Tolopilo, but Macklin Celebrini with a couple of assists, and then again, we talk about star power, and did he really need to get the unsportsmanlike conduct tacked on to the cross-check late in the hockey game? But the refs were having themselves an afternoon. So Macklin Celebrini, 2 points, 18 minutes and 31 seconds of ice time, just a single shot, and was 7 and 8 in the face-off circle. But my goodness, Harm, we watched the game here in studio. The way that guy attacks open ice, in the first period, you could just feel it. He was dealing. There were a couple of sequences there where they came in off the rush, backhand passes into space, like he just knows where his teammates are going to be. And then he's the guy that between Tyler Myers and Marcus Pettersson, 2 veteran defensemen, long guys, rangy, and he's able just to dart between them, draws the penalty that puts the Sharks up 2 men, and they score on that, and that was the game that tied the game. And I said earlier, I thought that was one of the turning points, but incredible what he's doing at such a young age.
Well, what's special about Celebrini and Bedard isn't just the raw speed and stick handling that they have off the rush. There's a level of deceptiveness to fool veteran defensemen that I think when you look at the chance Celebrini had where he split Marcus Pettersson and Tyler Myers for the great opportunity, drew the penalty, it's not just I'm going a million miles an hour and it's my raw speed that beat them. It was he's coming in pretty quickly on the entry, but then his head is scanning. He's slowing down momentarily, and as a defenseman, you think he's about to lay it back. All his body language and his positioning that leans towards I'm gonna lay it off for somebody, and then just as a defenseman, you start to believe that. That's when he turns on the jets, and it's the changing the gears where you're able to beat a defenseman, because that moment is when the defenseman stops skating and now they're flat-footed. And it's that change of gears, the deceptiveness that really unlocked that opportunity. And then, I mean, you look at the 2 assists, right? Goals that Tolopilo doesn't really have. I don't want to say he didn't have a chance on, but you can't blame them for it, where one of them he's finding Will Smith on a backdoor opportunity, which the Canucks penalty kill has given up a lot of. And then the other one, same thing with the deceptiveness. He's driving through the high slot area. His head is pointed straight on towards Tolopilo. Everyone's thinking shot first here for Celebrini, and then with his head up, he's able to sneak it backdoor to Eklund in the Draisaitl spot, which is particularly deadly because Eklund's one-timer is quietly one of the most dangerous parts of his game. I remember around this time last year, actually want to say maybe a game in December, Eklund also had a wicked one-time goal. And I remember that being the first time where I was like, I didn't realize Eklund, who's a smaller body, can rip a one-timer that dangerously. So that wasn't just a fortunate goal. You're setting up a guy who has a pretty lethal one-timer in that spot. So Celebrini is a game breaker and so much fun to watch.
So he was the second star, and we've talked about Elias Pettersson. Again, I think of the Canucks, he certainly deserves the nod there. He scores, so he's up to 8 goals now on the season. And again, it was just the creativity. It felt like Elias Pettersson of some seasons gone by. So wanted to include him, certainly, among 3 stars. 3 stars are brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. Celebrini got in on the counterattack late in the game, too, when he set up Tyler Toffoli, who I thought had a relatively quiet night. And Toffoli's only got the 5 goals on the season. He's there as veteran insulation, low-maintenance guy that's good with these young players. In fact, apparently Toffoli had the whole team over to his place last night for Thanksgiving dinner. So, that's a good team guy there. But he had a chance, and Tolopilo made one of his 21 saves on the afternoon.
Interesting that his ice time's down, too. I was looking at the box score, under 12 minutes against Colorado, 13:09 against Boston, 13:41 against Ottawa. He hasn't played more than
11:09 today.
Yeah, he hasn't been above the 15-minute mark since November 18th.
8.5 at 5-on-5, like one of the low Sharks. I mean, he makes up his 11:09 with 2.5 minutes of power play time. And yet, saying that, he does Tyler Toffoli things. He has 4 shots on goal on 5 attempts, and he had a really good scoring opportunity set up by Celebrini there. But Tolopilo there to make the stop. Let's talk about Nikita Tolopilo. Not surprised that he got the start after the 37 save performance. I think he is ahead of Jiri Patera on the depth chart. I don't know if they've got a decision with back-to-backs here, although it's an afternoon on Friday, evening on Saturday, so a few extra hours of rest. Could you run Nikita Tolopilo out there all 3 games in California? I suppose we'll see. There were reports today that Kevin Lankinen has been on the ice here in Vancouver the last couple of days and is expected to join the team, but I doubt he would be an option after being off for most of this week, so I don't think he'd be an option to face the Kings on Saturday night, but what did you see from a second straight start from Nikita Tolopilo?
I thought he was solid. Now, of course, Askarov stole the show and outperformed them, but outside of Askarov's game against Colorado Avalanche, he's been one of the best goaltenders in the league in November and really for the season as a whole. So you can't realistically compare Tolopilo to Askarov, and he gave them a legitimate opportunity to win. Again, 2 of the 3 goals I mentioned earlier. I don't think you could blame him on either one of those power play ones. The Adam Gaudette one, maybe he would have wanted back that, but I'm still not saying that's a soft goal or a backbreaker by any means. And on top of that, he made a lot of saves on legitimate grade A opportunities. There was a Sharks power play in the second period where he robbed Will Smith after a cross-ice pass from Macklin Celebrini. There was a Toffoli one-timer opportunity that he stopped. There were a bunch of high slot saves that he made in the first period as well. The third period chance that you referenced where Celebrini behind the net finds Toffoli in right in tight on the doorstep.
Earlier in that third, Will Smith right up the gut had a pretty good opportunity, and he stared him down after he made that save at 3-3 on Vetrano the other night that I thought was like the game-saving stop. So, no, I mean, he did his part to give this team a chance to get something out of this hockey game at the very least. And so that's an encouraging sign here that just given the unreliability of Thatcher Demko over the long haul of a season, to have an option now of a legitimate third-string guy that, when both Canucks starters are healthy, he'll probably go back to Abbotsford, but who knows when both Canucks starters are going to be healthy. So he's here in the here and now. And again, we'll see. What's your gut tell you about Saturday against LA? Do you?
That's a really interesting decision because historically the numbers would tell you don't play goalies on the second leg of a back-to-back. Their save percentage drops a lot when they're playing 2 nights in a row. And hey, the Canucks saw that during their season opener when Calgary had played the night before in Edmonton. The Flames rolled out Dustin Wolf both nights, and Wolf in that Canucks season opener really struggled in that game. Let in a couple of soft goals. So it's a tough debate because Tolopilo's played really well through these first 2 games, but generally goaltenders don't fare well on back-to-backs. And then you've got Patera, who is a bit of a wild card. It's tough to judge him because, he let up 7 or 8 or whatever it was against the Florida Panthers, but that was maybe the Canucks' worst defensive performance of the season in front of him. I suspect that the coaching staff might lean toward Tolopilo again just because he's played that well, and they might be thinking Patera got lit up for how many against the Florida Panthers, but don't be surprised if Tolopilo plays again and he struggles. I'm not going to be pointing the finger at him because playing both legs as a goaltender, especially with some level of travel involved, is a tall ask.
Now, they can be in Southern California by dinner time on Friday, and Tolopilo can get. It's not your conventional back-to-back, so that works in his favor if they decide to come back with him again here. We'll see. They likely won't have a morning skate, maybe an optional, but maybe closer to game time on Saturday before we find out what the Canucks plan to do in goal. A couple other super chats that I wanted to acknowledge here before we go. Justice came with a third one, so he's been busy here. Thank you for that. We're not going to get into trade talk, but appreciate your consistency and your contributions. Another one from Dean talking about the body language. Wants to run Quinn Hughes out of town. Again, guys, it was just one little snapshot at the end of the second period. And Spatzilli, who's a regular contributor as well, says he skips games, but he hates missing Rink Wide. Petition to make the show 3 hours long. Come on, Spatzilli. It's a back-to-back here. It's 3 and 4. We got to conserve some energy as well. I don't know about 3 hours. I mean, the beauty of the podcast world and the digital world, you can watch you can watch it 3 times. If it's a 1 hour show, you can just keep rolling it back. If you need 3 hours of me and Harm, there's your solution. But appreciate the support. We do thank you, and so does the BC Mental Health Foundation. Let's get to the stat that stands out. It's delivered by Uber Eats, and Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. Every time the Canucks play at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver, only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, or after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. And we didn't make note of this the other night when he tied Todd Bertuzzi, but Brock Boeser's goal to open the scoring is 9th of the year, 4.5 minutes into this hockey game, moves Boeser into 10th spot by himself on Vancouver's all-time scoring list. 213 goals, 237 assists. You add it up, it's a nice tidy 450 points for the 2015 first rounder. So he's on his way to 500 points and beyond. But with the goal today, he is now solo top 10. And I guess, you're around long enough, you are going to work your way up the ranks. But Brock Boeser, a top 10 franchise guy in scoring. So congratulations to him. We thought, even in a losing cause, that absolutely that's a stat that stands out. Yeah,
longest tenured Vancouver Canuck. Also, credit to him this season. I wasn't sure what his 5-5 production was going to look like without JT Miller, and especially because I didn't have a lot of confidence that he and Pettersson were necessarily going to gel together as a duo, just based on the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, even when they've played together in short spurts. Hasn't always felt like they've had that chemistry there, and I wondered who's going to be the playmaker to tee Boeser up for chances. And it turns out it's been Connor Garland lately. I have really liked the chemistry they've had together, where it's Garland again on Boeser's goal, setting him up. And even in the Anaheim game, those two finding each other for opportunities pretty consistently. And despite them having David Kampf to play with, subpar center to say the least. I mean, is there, as a top 6 winger for Brock Boeser, and I suppose Connor Garland as well on that line, is there a worse top 6 center in the league to have to play with right now? No offense to David Kampf, it's not his fault.
No,
he's
misplaced.
He didn't ask to play second line center minutes, but it's been encouraging to see those guys cook offensively, and it's given the Canucks an offensive punch outside of just when Quinn Hughes is on the ice, and even on that play as well. Tom Verlander picking up another assist, so him able to generate things with some puck play on that Boeser goal. It was him starting things by pinching up the wall, using his skating ability to cleanly retrieve it, extend the offense's own possession, get it to Garland, who then looped back and found Boeser. But yeah, to bring it back to Brock, 6 5-on-5 goals already this year. His individual goals per 60 rate at 5-on-5 is the highest it's been since his rookie year. So that's a massive credit and testament to how well he's played in the early going so far.
He's at 9 goals. The team's played 25 games. He missed 2 of those, and he left the St. Louis game after his first shift, so it counts as a game played, but he barely played it. So he's got 9 goals in essentially 22 games. He's on pace for mid-30s, which is what they want and what they're going to need if they're going to claw their way back into relevance here in the Pacific Division and the Western Conference. What I liked about that goal, they've got him on the left side right now. And sometimes with a right-handed shot, your stick's closer to the middle of the ice. He loops around and takes that feed from Garland, and now, boom, he's on his forehand in a shooting position and snuck it low instead of, like, a lot of times we'll see Brock try and pick high corners, but he went low this time. Some traffic in front. I think Kampf was there and squeezed it through. And so, yeah, the start the Canucks were looking for. They've opened the scoring in 3 straight games now. It didn't matter ultimately, and it didn't matter against Calgary either. But instead of falling behind and having to chase games, at least they're starting to find ways to open the scoring here, but need to build on it. And they had 1-0 and 2-1 leads, and ultimately they end up losing by a score of 3-2. But Brock Boeser, 5 shots, 10 attempts. He's a volume shooter, so that's when you know that he is on his game. And I know that he and others would have liked one on the power play here that could have swayed this thing in a different direction. Just the second time all season that Brock and Elias Pettersson have scored in the same game. So, need both those guys producing for the Canucks, and obviously need them to do it a little more often on the same sorts of nights. We talk about back-to-back for the Canucks and high ice time. I mean, high ice time for Quinn Hughes, not a big deal. Connor Garland played 10 minutes and 2 seconds of the third period. You don't see forwards playing half a period all that often, but Garland at 24-28. I mean, it's fair to wonder. It's going to be 3 and 4. And again, just like the schedule's been screwy for the Canucks. They can't even catch a break when they're in the state of California and have to go from Southern California to the Bay Area, then turn around and go back. Both of their trips to California this year, and the second one comes like in the final 5 or 6 games of the season, it's the same thing. So they don't ever get the back-to-back games in Southern California with just a bus trip between Anaheim and Los Angeles. Whatever, that's life in the NHL. They'll deal with it. But you do wonder, as they turn around, hopefully these guys get a good night's sleep, because they're going to lean on their top players again. Because the ice time distribution, Adam Foote makes a lineup change, sticks Lukas Reichel in, brings Ratu out, talked after practice about Ratu needing a reset. Ratu only played 1 shift in the third period in Anaheim. I know he had the breakdown on the Leo Carlsson goal. I don't ever have a problem with a guy coming out for a night if coaches are trying to make a point and just get a young guy to refocus, whatever. I mean, I think I would take Ratu at center over Lukas Reichel all day, every day. For the rest of the season, but Lukas Reichel gets back in there, made a nice pass to Archie Bains 3 minutes into the hockey game, but I think that was my only note on the night. And very little ice time for Reichel, 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Bains a shade under 6 minutes in this hockey game. So Adam Foote makes the change, but I don't know. Ultimately, was there any... Do we read anything into it? Do you take anything away from the fact that the bottom line, the fourth line, didn't play much and didn't do much?
Yeah, well, first, I'd be curious where 458 ranks this season among, as far as lowest ice time in a game where the player didn't actually get injured, where he was healthy start to finish. Where does that rank this season for lowest ice time? It's not overly surprising, because even before they went on the road, I asked Adam Foote about Lukas Reichel and what position do they view him as the best fit for. Right, and Adam Foote sort of said, we're still thinking about different possibilities, didn't give a hard black and white answer, but he admitted, I think he's probably more of a winger than he is a center. So to me, Reichel drawing back into the lineup was more about, hey, we want to give Ratu that opportunity to reset. He had genuinely been struggling defensively lately, even though I've liked his play as a whole this season, because it wasn't just the breakdown on the Leo Carlsson Ducks goal, but even in the Flames game where they lost that one, he had another similar defensive zone sequence where he didn't pick up a rebound, and it was a pretty bad breakdown in the last 5 games. It's interesting. Ratu's underlying numbers for the season as a whole have been very strong, but the last 5 games, they'd been outscored 3-0. The shots and chances were pretty lopsided. I think there were 14-6 in favor of opponents. So, I like you said, I don't mind sitting him out for a game. And to me, all Reichel's deployment says is I expect Ratu to draw back in against LA, and you would hope that it is in a situation where Ratu is in and out of the lineup, that this is just a 1-game reset for him.
I don't think it will be, because I look ahead at what's coming after Los Angeles, and they can only focus on the Kings now, but they have to be as stout defensively as possible going into Colorado at the end of this road trip. But I just think Ratu give you a little bit more defensively than Lucas Reichel can at the center ice.
Especially the D zone draw, or like any draw situations. With 1.9 seconds left in the game, you're down a goal. Elias Pettersson is in the box. By the way, 2 minutes for receiving 3 cross checks. Apparently,
ridiculous.
I don't know.
Again,
He
it's
ends
just
up
all
in the
part of a
box.
ridiculous afternoon.
But all right, so you need somebody else to take the job, and ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. But still, to have David Kampf out there,
it says enough. It does. I know. Like I get what you're saying there, and
I'd rather have Ratu in that situation.
And Kampf had an awful afternoon. He won 4 of 15 faceoffs. So this guy that's supposed to, you're not expecting offense from him, but the one thing that he might be able to bring you is some solidity down the middle. But if he's winning 4 of 15 faceoffs, then he's not excelling in that area of the job at all. Canucks got cleaned in the faceoff circle, won 25 or 26 and lost 40, so 39% on the draw. All right, going to hear from Adam Foote here in a sec. This segment of Rink Wide presented by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, and it's a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's enough to get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store and then home to recharge. It seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style, with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior, loaded with tech that is actually easy to use. And you can plug in or recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. Right now, you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. We haven't heard from the coach, so we're going to listen along with you, although I see people on social saying, listen to him talk about the power play here. So I'm glad he was asked about the power play, because obviously it was a focal point in a 3-2 loss to the Sharks. Here is Adam Foote post-game from the Bay Area.
Adam, how much did special teams play into this game on both sides?
Yeah, it was it. We gotta get 1 or 2 and stop them from getting 1 or 2, and it's that simple.
What was missing from your power play tonight?
We seemed a little bit out of sorts. It looked like the emotions got involved, and we were just out of sync. And you gotta reel that back in. It's a game to win. We had them all night, and maybe had a little bit of a slow start the first couple shifts, but other than that, 5-on-5, our game plan was working well. There's a lot going on with the calls, so I don't know on both sides, so I don't know what to tell you with that one.
I don't know if you knew what was said, but do you have any issue, principle, about an unsportsmanlike call?
Well, I mean, you don't know what leads up to it either, right? Whether it was the last couple games, I don't know. I know what was said. I've heard worse that didn't get called, but also I also don't know what led up to it, right? You never know. So I'm not going to go there. There was lots of calls to both teams, so I'm not going to get into too much of what happened on that side of it.
And review, what were your thoughts on that?
I know with that one, Toronto must have called that one in, and they obviously saw something they wanted to go over, and there's nothing we do with that.
Did you look at the review?
You could tell that we looked at it. You could tell something was going on there. We weren't sure on our camera angle. We thought it might have been in, but on our camera angle, we didn't have the clear cut where I think they have more angles up there. I'm assuming they saw it clearly go in.
When the power play's out of sync like that, Adam, do you need to have more of a shoot-first mentality, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't like our shots. You're right. We've got to take a hard look at that, and maybe when it's going like that, we throw 2D on and get Phil shooting in the net. But I think you're right. I think we're getting a little bit too predictable, and they were just jumping on it. And we'll talk about it and figure it out.
So, Coach, what was the PG version of what you said during second intermission after the Sharks took over the lead during that second period?
Well, I mean, it was PG because it was a couple calls that they get a 5-on-3, one squeaked by our goalie there. one from behind the net. We were in full control of the game, so just stayed in the box for the most part was all I said. And play our pre-scout, our game plan was working, and I felt we had full control of the game, even though we were in intermission. We just got to stay out of the box and score on our chances.
All right, there you go, Adam Foote, post-game. A couple of interesting things about the power play. One is he said he thought the emotions creeped into it. We've already talked about the fact that Quinn body language and some other things, so I don't know exactly what he was getting at there other than maybe frustration after not being able to convert with the opportunities. But then when he says maybe we got to get Phil out there with 2 defensemen, I mean, is that – I read that as a criticism of Quinn Hughes, essentially, that I know he's looking for another shooting option, but it kind of feels to me like he's saying that whatever Quinn was doing at the top wasn't working. There is the other one over there on the side, 40. We talked about that at length earlier, but what did you make of the comments of the head coach?
Yeah, it was interesting. Certainly the first moment about referencing emotion creeping into it a little bit is worth keeping in the back of your mind. I don't know if I love the idea of going to 2 defensemen on the first unit set. I think ever since Hronek has been there, that's been an option they've reverted back to, and it's never stuck for a reason, in my opinion. Now, does it maybe give you a jolt for a game or two? Sure, but Hronek, he's got a heavy shot, but has it always been the most accurate? It's not as if he's been a goal-scoring machine while he's been here, and I understand that he's not really had a lot of first unit time to boost his totals, but you're talking about a guy that 2 goals this year, 5 last year, 5 the year before. He's not really a high-scoring defenseman despite having a heavy shot that you think would be able to beat goaltenders more consistently. And I also go back to, tonight was an off night. However, we're still talking about a power play that was, 8th in the NHL before this game.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's been on a bender here lately.
So I don't think that you need to reinvent the wheel and completely blow things up. Yeah, if it persists for a few games longer, sure, maybe you look at more drastic action. But I wouldn't be immediately thinking that 2 defensemen on the first unit set is the solution.
Hear me out, Harm. They need a shooter on the power play. Abbotsford loses 4-1. Guess who scored the one? Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Who has scored a bunch and has been shooting a bunch since he got back in the lineup here. I do wonder, Abbotsford's in Tucson. It would be an easy flight to get him. It would require some roster manipulation, but I do wonder at what point they bring Jonathan Lekkerimäki back into the mix. It wasn't like he was in Abbotsford when he got hurt. He was playing in the National Hockey League, so I didn't mind the idea of sending him back to Abbotsford, get his feet under him, get some games, but if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing at the American Hockey League level, I just wonder at some point here, although offense really hasn't been the big issue for the Vancouver Canucks of late. So we'll see where it goes, but good to see Lekkerimäki continuing to score at the American Hockey League level at the very least. All right, let's take a look at our line of the night. It's brought to you by Bet365. Canucks are back in action in Los Angeles against the Kings on Saturday night. Back-to-back for both teams. We'll talk about the Kings here in a sec. Los Angeles not great on home ice. There's some value here. You can grab the Canucks on the money line at plus 145. So think about that. If they're going to be hungry, if they can get this power play worked out, that is our Bet365 line of the night. Whatever your bet, never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION to get you started. And a reminder, you must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. It was a battle of Southern California, so the Canucks' previous opponent to this one and their next one meeting on the pond in Anaheim. They went back and forth. That's just the way the Ducks play. They came out on the wrong end of a 5-4 score the other day. They got it right in a shootout. Needed a late goal from Leo Carlsson, but they defeat the LA Kings by a score of 5-4 in a shootout. So the Ducks get a couple of points. The Kings get just one, and that's not great news for the Canucks when other teams around them, all 3 of the California teams, pick up points in the standings, and the Canucks get none on this Black Friday. But the Kings are 11-6-7 now on the season. So they got 7 in that OTL SOL column. But they've been playing better of late. They went into this game 6-2-2 in their last 10. I mentioned the home ice struggles. Just 2 wins on home ice this year for whatever reason. They don't score a lot. They got 4 and lost. That probably disappointing to them because I think if they get 4, they probably feel that they ought to win. Usually a pretty strong defensive team. Adrian Kempe led them. I haven't checked if he figured in the scoring, but he came into the game with 20 points. That was tops on the LA Kings. Kevin Fiala leads the team with 9 goals. And, of course, this is the Anze Kopitar farewell tour. So 38-year-old closing in on 1,500 National Hockey League games, guy that has just shown up and played hard for so long for the Kings. But what do you make of the LA Kings to this point of the season?
They're perfectly average.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe them. The offseason loss, departures they had with Gavrikov out the door, bringing in Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin to a blue line that all of a sudden you look at it and go, Edmondson, Dumoulin, Ceci, you've got a bunch of guys that can't move the puck in that bottom 4. And yet that's limited their ceiling, and I think makes me look at them as a team that probably can't do any damage if they do get into the playoffs. But they've still maintained a relatively high defensive floor. They're still one of the stingiest defensive teams in the NHL. It's also helped that on the blue line, Brent Clark has taken a significant step, averaging about half a point per game. But more than that, it's the increased 2A responsibilities. His ice time has ticked up significantly now. A big part of that is out of necessity because Drew Doughty is out of the lineup, but Clark stepping up is a huge reason why the Kings blue line, despite not being very good on paper, has been able to stay afloat. And really, when you look at the defensive identity of that team, it's because when you look up and down their top 9 group, yeah, their forwards don't put up a lot of points, but they're so stingy defensively. I mean, you mentioned Kopitar. How about just down the middle, Kopitar, Byfield, and Danault? Those guys aren't necessarily going to produce a lot of points, and Danault particularly has been struggling offensively this year. But good luck manufacturing a lot of offense against those guys. Those are 3 big, long bodies that check really well, don't give you a lot of time and space. And then a ton of their wingers as well are intelligent at both ends of the rink. They're the speedy buzzsaw types, right? So when you've got guys like Kopitar and Danault down the middle, they're not really burners, but then you pair them with like Trevor Moore's on Kopitar's line, and he's a little bit like Connor Garland, where he's just constant buzzsaw, always winning battles, plays with a ton of pace. And then you got Armia and Laferriere on the Danault line as well. Same sort of thing, nonstop motor, really aggressive on the forecheck. This Kings team is just average. They're competitive enough that I still expect them to probably squeak into the playoffs, but they also played this past night. So for the Canucks, you would normally look at, all right, Vancouver's playing the second leg of back-to-back. Is that a scheduled loss? No, because Kings also played Friday as well.
The Ducks moved to 31 points. LA second in the Pacific with 29. And so the Canucks with no points in this hockey game, they're stuck on 22. So that's the gap, 9 points back of the Anaheim Ducks, who have a game in hand on the Vancouver Canucks. Brian Dumoulin played 25 minutes in this hockey game now. Easy travel for them as they go across town. And, it's funny, we watched this penalty fest between the Canucks and the Sharks. They really didn't have a ton of feeling until the very end. You get the Ducks and the Kings, and you think a rivalry and top 2 teams in the division. There were 3 power plays total in that hockey game, so most of it played at 5-on-5. Kevin Fiala, by the way, got to double digits. He scored 1 of the LA goals, so he's up to 10 now. And we should note as well that there's probably a goaltending decision there. No travel for them. But Darcy Kemper played today, so might the Canucks see Anton Forsberg? It's possible. We will see what Saturday brings ahead of the 7 o'clock showdown at, it'll always be Staples Center to me, but it is Crypto.com. All right, disappointing afternoon for the Canucks because, again, they controlled much of the play. They outshoot the Sharks by 10. Some individual efforts, but they give up 2 power play goals for the 9th time already this season. And it took me back to the Dallas game a week ago where I think we all liked what the Canucks did, but remember they had the 5-on-3 for a minute and 20 seconds in the second period when it was a 2-2 tie, and they didn't score. And here the Sharks had a 5-on-3 for a minute and 17, and they did cash in, and that propelled them to the victory. So the Canucks with a win in Anaheim, a loss in San Jose. Now they head south again to Los Angeles, and then the road trip will wrap up on Tuesday in Denver against the Colorado Avalanche, who saw their 10-game win streak come to an end. They got a point in Minnesota, but they lose in a shootout, so Avs will have to start a new win streak, and we'll see what they look like by the time the Canucks arrive there to wrap up the road trip on Tuesday. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. Harm, always great to have you in here. Appreciate you. Your partner takes the day off, but you're busting in here, so I guess it's hard to do a convo in the middle of an afternoon game. Canucks have another early start coming up. The beginning of that New York road trip. They're in New Jersey. It's a 9:30 start. Another one of those on like December the 16th. So this was afternoon hockey at the very least, but still. A little peculiar on a holiday in the States, but not a holiday on this side of the border. So great stuff. Appreciate you stopping in. Your analysis, always appreciated, and we'll look forward to your work at The Athletic, and then you and Quads together again on Monday when you'll have this game and the Saturday night game in Los Angeles to break down as well. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks, J-Pat. Always fun.
Jake Lebazar in with us here on this Black Friday afternoon as well, and we appreciate his help. Thanks to everybody that tuned in, whether you watched this on the live stream or you're consuming this as a podcast. We appreciate your support, and we'll be back to do it. Tyson Cole will be in with me as my wingman on Saturday when the Canucks take on the Kings. 7 o'clock face-off, conventional puck drop time, and then we'll be on with Rink Wide after that one. The final score here on Black Friday, the Sharks 3, the Canucks 2. That's going to do it for us here at Rink Wide Vancouver.